So I usually invite Magnus Billings, who is the co-op advisor for, I guess, science and biology and environment, or science and environment, to
for
come.
biology.
Yeah, for biology, as well as Amelia Kirkwood, your BISC undergrad advisor, to talk about the different opportunities you have for doing research. I know not all of you are in biology as a department. You're across health sciences, environmental science, and everything else as well, and BPK. But the opportunities we talk about here are available to all of you, right? Even if you're a BPK student, you can do a research course in biology, and there's other equivalents in your department as well, right? So what we're wanting to do is just share and answer questions and go from there. To begin with, though, Amelia and Susan, do you want to talk a bit about kind of the opportunities available through co-op and elsewhere? Just make sure I'm using the right name here. Before we get the students to kind of ask more questions.
Okay, so do you want me to just give an overall
Yeah, sure, if you don't mind.
thing about
Yeah.
498?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
All right, sure. Okay, so biology department is one of the largest largest departments in the Faculty of Science, but we're not definitely the largest. BPK is larger than us in terms of the number of bodies of students and in terms of the enrollments and number of courses as well. But what we're very proud of is our opportunities in undergraduate research, and we're fortunate that Kevin designed this course to get you to be excited about how to do research and how to approach research from the beginning, from scratch. One of my most exciting course that I did was an old course. I did my degree in biochemistry. I did biochem. So the way it worked in the biochem program at that time, before it's been changed over 20 years, is we built the scaffold. Like we learned the techniques, how to prepare buffer, how to do experiments in biochemistry as well as molecular biology. And then when you get to when I got to the fourth year, I got to design my own experiment. So I chose a project, and I just made basically a recipe, a list of ingredients that I needed, and they prepared that for me. And then I made, I designed my own experiments. I did the experiment, and then I wrote the paper on the experiment and my findings. So that was really exciting. So I see this being done in the second year level, which is really exciting. And we want to carry this forward beyond. If you want to carry it beyond, we have opportunities for you. We have 298, which is for about BISC 498. It's an undergraduate research course for students who have not completed the lower division core courses. For those that have completed lower division core courses, which means first year and second year courses, you could go into the 498. And once you do your 498, you could do 499, 497W. So those are the difference between 298 and 498 is that in 498 you're expected to be more independent and deliver more advanced research as well as more advanced reporting, like in terms of papers. Not all 498, 499 require you to do papers, but in general we expect you to do papers for the courses. So in addition to the undergraduate, the 3 credit 400 level courses, you could take it even further to have more intensive research experience. It's called Independent Study Semester. Independent Study Semester is composed of 3 different components. The first one is your research proposal. The second one is your research itself, where you do your hands-on experiments. And the third component is your thesis and thesis defense. So it's almost like a master's degree, but you only do it only one semester. So it's a good way for you to dip your toes into research. If you're thinking of going to grad studies, or you are excited about one particular project that you want to delve into, it's a really, really good experience. Can you speak about your honors project?
Yeah, so just out of curiosity, who's heard of like biology 298 or 498 before? So a few people, yeah, well, half the students, Right, so the idea behind that is it's a 3-credit course amount of work, but rather than having even any learning outcomes at all, you're essentially paired up with usually a prof and one of their grad students to do a small project that you're in charge of. So kind of like what you're doing for your research projects, except you have a whole semester and 3 credits worth of work. So I guess that would be
equivalent to 8 to 10 hours a week.
Yeah, 8 to 10 hours a week, but with the full support of a research lab.
Research, yeah. Right. Either your TA or your professor.
Yeah, so all the budget constraints we have, safety constraints, you won't have anymore, right? You will get the safety training you need to work in that lab and use any tools that they have in that lab, as long as the support of the lab technicians. At the end of which, so you basically just do research for those 8 to 10 hours a week for the whole semester, then write up what you've found at the end of it, right? So big version of your research projects, essentially. Whereas an ISS is also known as an honors thesis, right? So it's something you do if you're doing well in school and you apply for the honors program. It's something you use to cap it off. So yeah, I did both. I did a 498 with Gerhard as well as an honors thesis, and that's how I got to know Gerhard and know Regina and everyone else in the lab, and know that was a place I wanted to stay longer. Another benefit of an honors thesis is that if you want to go directly into a PhD and skip the master's, or if you want to go from a master's and the project's going well, you want to turn it into a PhD, so essentially skip the master's as well and get the PhD sooner. An honors thesis helps check off one of the important boxes for that. Yeah. Because in order to go straight into PhD or to switch from master to PhD, you have to show that your research is going well, or that you have kind of proven research ability. It used to be, when I rolled over from master's to PhD, that you needed to publish some of your master's work. So it took me like 3 years to publish something. So it wasn't until after 3 years that I rolled over to a PhD. So I don't have a master's, so I did directly PhD. But they've changed the rules since, such that if you've done an honors thesis, if you've done an ISS, like one semester, 15 credits of basically doing nothing but research and then defending your thesis at the end, that checks off that box for research, right? So as long as your prof is into it, you have the money for it, and your project's going well, you can go directly to PhD or skip the master's altogether. So that's nice. Right? If you want to be Dr. So-and-so before you're 30, that's pretty much the way to go, right? And the honors thesis is a good shortcut for that, and also a way to really get a much bigger project done. Yeah. Right? An honors thesis is a big deal to have done, but you have a lot of support. It also means that your last 15 credits of your undergrad generally has very high grades, right? Because if you're working hard and you're working with the prof and listening well, then usually you're getting good A's for all 15 credits, and that helps you get a nice head start for scholarships you might be applying for. Post-grad stuff as well, right? Because you have 15 credits of A or A+, to land the end of your undergrad degree with, right? So definitely worth doing. Yeah, and at many of the undergraduate research projects, whether it's the 498, 499, or 497W and ISS, they end up in publications. Mm-hmm. So it's really, really good ticket. So if for some reason your GPA is a bit on the borderline for getting accepted into grad school, having this experience, the ISS experience, and publication will actually assist. I think in a way it could assist students in getting to securing their seat in grad school. And I just want to tell a story. One of our former students, Carson Gale. I don't know if you know him, Carson. Maybe not Gale. Maybe not my generation.
Yeah. So he worked under Dr. Lowenberger's lab. Dr. Lowenberger has retired, but he did 490. Started with 298, 498, 499, 497W, and a ISS. He's doing this because he was interested in research. He was interested in a study of vector, how mosquitoes transmit diseases to other organisms without being affected by the diseases. So what happened was that because of all this extensive experience in his undergraduate, it took him 1 year to finish his master's.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was able to wrap up his master's degree in 1 semester, and he subsequently got accepted to medical school. So, like Kevin said, it's a good way for you to build your research experience, enhancing your degree, right? Because it's like anybody who has completed courses will have different experience with someone who has their hands dirty and getting research, getting into research. Yeah.
There's also a way to just really get connected to different supervisors, different kinds of research. You can try it out for a 3-credit course worth of work,
Yep.
right? But really dive deep into the tools and methods available in there, and your CV grows by 2 pages, right? You do another 498 or 499 in a different lab, and you have another 2 pages of hands-on actual skills with the modern tools as well, right?
Yeah.
But timing-wise, I want to make sure Susan has enough time to share. So, Susan, you want to tell the students a bit about? I mean, actually, who's been to a co-op workshop already as far as introduction to it? Okay, a little bit less than half of the students have been to co-op workshops. So, yeah, whatever you want to share, Susan, just to get the ball started.
Sure. Yes, well, we do have an information session every semester. The details for the fall one are pending, but you will see it promoted among the departments. My name's Susan Wiggins. I'm one of 4 coordinators. Magnus Billings is currently away, but between myself, Magnus, Isabella, and Natalie, we are looking after students from science, environment, and health sciences, so right across the board. So I actually come from more of an MBB background. I've been working with the MBB students and chemistry students for the last 15 years. So, but I also have some familiarity with the biology students as well. Was always a bit of crossover, but for now we have all 3 programs. So when you apply, don't be surprised with that. But we do have a very robust biology co-op program, and with so many really wonderful opportunities in research and with organizations from private companies to government positions. So some pretty amazing opportunities. Just for those of you that might not know, co-op involves 3 work terms. So you're out in the workforce full-time, paid above minimum wage typically, and you complete 3 terms in order to get a co-op designation. The idea of co-op is to go out into the workforce, gain skills, come back, apply them to your courses, go out again, and it's that back and forth that really just multiplies the skills exponentially and your confidence with your work exponentially. So it's really a great program. If you're around 80 or so credits, I would encourage you to apply soon. It was mentioned that by Amelia, there's lots of opportunities, and by Kevin, there's lots of opportunities on campus, and they're wonderful opportunities. You can actually count an undergrad research experience under the USRA with or as a co-op, so that could be potentially one of your co-ops. But we have a list of jobs every term that you'll have access to. We've actually, among one of our big changes is that we give students access to a year's worth of opportunities. So once you pass through resume workshop, cover letter workshop, interview skill workshops, which are so valuable. I wish I had these when I was graduating university, quite honestly. I didn't have them, but we get you absolutely ready. You're working with a coordinator in order to complete your job search, and you kind of choose your own job search plan, and your work depends on your courses and when you're doing other things. And I have many students that have done maybe on-campus research before they go and do a work term. That actually gives them a little extra marketing there on their resume. So that's really good. But I just wanted to give you, and I'm sure you're all interested in a rundown of the types of positions we have. And so I looked back over 1 year of biology students, just biology students. You're going to notice there's quite a bit of variety. And this is by design because we want you to explore different areas of your degree and kind of figure out where you fit, what you like. And we do ask probing questions about what you like about this experience or that experience. And I feel like if you do that in your career, you're eventually going to end up with the right job. So I think co-op is really important, very valuable to your career development. So we've had in the last year BC Charity Organization, BC Wildlife Federation, Bureau Veritas, which is like microbiology food testing, City of Vancouver, and just about every other city does post with us. Dia Foods, which is food research, and there's biology positions in there. Dillon Consulting, ES Crop Consult. We had many students over the summer, every summer, with this company. It's Integrated Pest Management, Environment and Climate Change Canada, Fisheries and Oceans, Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, all government, have exceptional opportunities. To name a few: agriculture and food, Canada, it's in ecology, invasive species, entomology, food microbiology, environmental microbiology, and pesticides. For the cell and molecular students, there's BC Cancer, there's therapeutics. We have many students, biology students, that along with the MBB students were hired by stem cell technology. So it's just such a wide variety of opportunities.
That's too bad. What just happened? I think it might be on their end, but yeah, usually if it disconnects. Well, I'll try to get them back. Shh, listen up, please. Well, I'm trying to get Susan back, right?
Maybe I can talk about the USRA. She mentioned about USRA.
Sure, yeah. Let's talk about USRA, and I'll also get Elizabeth to share about her co-op experiences as well.
Yeah.
So I'm still recording the video to post later on, and yeah, please go ahead.
Okay.
There's something we didn't talk about yet.
Susan mentioned about USRA is one of the research opportunities that exists for all majors in science. Basically, USRA is funded either by NSERC, which is a national body, or by Vice President Research. So the value is about $8,000. You work for 1 semester. The application usually is open in January. This year they open in February for some reason. So you work for 1 semester for a professor. You approach a prof to see if they have any opportunities in the lab, and you work there. You earn about $8,000. As Susan said, you could count that term towards your co-op term. So it's a good way to actually double dip into something that you get an award, but you also you can count it towards your co-op.
Hi, Susan. Sorry, but I don't know why we lost you there.
Sorry, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I think it's on my end. Maybe the internet might have hiccuped. Yeah, but please continue where you left off, if you don't mind.
I was just kind of giving us all the students a little bit of an idea of what we have here in co-op, and we even have co-op students that go overseas. So we just had several really great research positions with the RISE program in Germany. So all different parts of Germany, and it's their national program. They bring in students from Canada and who are going to school in Canada. But don't necessarily have to be Canadian, so it's open to all. That's a really good position. But then we do have a really growing and robust international co-op program that works with each of the coordinators. So there could be, if you're interested in going overseas, that's certainly an option, and doing some research overseas. I guess the benefits of co-op, I guess, would be the last thing I would start with, or I would end with. Do it for the work experience, do it for the networking and for connections with other researchers and companies, and do it for the skills that you learn, that you get to apply from your courses. You get to apply them in the real workforce. And really, I've heard from many students that once they do something in the workplace, it really connects. The education really connects, and it really completes the learning. So there's that. Your resume, for sure, will benefit from co-op. And as I think Kevin said at the beginning, that it's some resumes with papers. And with that research experience, it's very impressive. And I've actually had a student, MBB, but not biology, but did an honors, did some honors work with a PhD in a company who is affiliated. So there's many different opportunities, but my thought is that it's good to put yourself out there and just try different things and really understand what you like and what you might like a little less, and that really helps you move your career forward. So I understand you're all interested in research, and let me just assure you there are tons of research opportunities with co-op, and they are paid, as I mentioned. They're supervised. You are connected on a Canvas course, and you have all the support you need from start to finish, between the orientation where you're learning the ins and outs of resumes and cover letters, right through to the work search, and then finally, the workplace, and until you finally close out and you're off to do masters potentially, or work in the workforce. So, yeah. So I'd be happy to answer any questions or for anybody.
Yeah. Thanks. One more thing before we open it up to questions. I think Elizabeth has some good stories in terms of co-op, if you want to share this. Well, just to get a personal side. So I told the personal side of honors thesis, which I really enjoyed doing. It was really worthwhile because it helped me actually finish my grad school sooner. But Elizabeth wanted to share a bit about research.
I'm about to now on the screen. Yay! So unlike everyone else, it seems, at this panel, I didn't do any of the USRAs. I didn't do any of the lower level honors theses or anything like that. I decided to just go straight into co-op because at the time my goal was like, I'm going to get my bachelor's and then get a job, which didn't quite happen, but that's fine. And it's also one of those, I had quite an interesting journey with co-op, which I think can potentially ease some people's comfort levels with this. Is my first co-op semester that I did, I almost didn't get to do. I was applying. I applied for a good number of jobs, it felt like, at the time, and all my friends who had also applied for co-op had already gotten jobs. Some of them had already started their semester, and I still hadn't gotten one. And I was like, okay, that's it. I guess I'm not doing co-op. I guess my grades aren't that good, or I don't have the correct experience, or potentially my paperwork is not that good. But at the end, I did actually manage to get a co-op at the Greater Vancouver Zoo here in Aldergrove, where I was an animal keeper for 4 months. And so that ended up actually being this amazing experience, because it showed me that I was like, oh, I do like field work, and I do want to be able to be doing this side of biology, especially the ecology side of things. And then in a happy turn of events, this kind of started this weird little pattern that ended up happening, where every co-op job I got after that, I think I got because one of my past references from the previous co-op job knew someone in that new job. So I did worked at the Greater Vancouver Zoo for 4 months for a summer, and then the next summer I worked at a pesticide company where my boss for the zoo did a co-op with them when he was at school. And so I did that for 4 months, which actually gave me a couple cool certifications. So I got a certification for driving ATVs and stuff like that with trailers, as well as my pesticide application certification. And then for my last semester of co-op, I did 8 months with Environment and Climate Change Canada, where my boss for there had done her co-op with my previous boss at the pesticide company. And so I think I got basically every co-op job just because I was like, hey, I know this person. They're like, oh, I also know this person. They're like, sure, you're great. And so it's kind of one of those things where the more you get to do, the easier it is to be able to get that next opportunity, which does help. And so I had an amazing time with my co-ops. I honestly think everything that I've managed to get to this point was because I did co-ops. And indeed, when I did 8 months with Environment Climate Change Canada, and then they gave me a job right out of university. So that ended up being my job for an 8-month contract right out of university, because I had done this previous experience with them, that they just reached out to me and asked if I wanted this because they had known me from previous. But to touch on something that was already said too, I have friends that did 1 semester of co-op and realized they hated everything about their degrees. They were like, I hate everything to do with this. I have experienced it now in the real world, and this is not what I want to do. And they ended up switching their degrees and majors entirely and switching to different departments, and they ended up being so much happier going forward. So I think co-op gave them this opportunity to be like, I thought I liked this in theory, but in application, this is not actually what I want to do. And so if you're at any point debating I'm not sure, because I know I've talked to a couple of you guys about this, about if you want to go one direction or the other, or if you want to switch faculties, co-op can be a good taste or an easy, like, no, like what's the risk and
Yeah,
no
low
low risk, high
reward.
reward
Yeah.
situation for figuring out if you don't like something, rather than finishing your bachelor's degree after 4 years and realizing when you first apply for a job that you might want to go back to school for a different degree. So, but yeah, I had a great time doing co-op. Co-op was very, very nice to me. I had a fantastic time. My resume, I honestly think like I'd say about like half of my friend group did co-op and half of my friend group didn't. And I would definitely say like the friends that did co-op, like RCBs had like double the stuff on it that anyone else did. And theirs was mostly like volunteer based, which is good, but they got maybe one volunteer gig while I had 3 guaranteed jobs. So it definitely can sway a lot of employers one way or the other, depending on what you guys are interested in doing. But yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, similar. Yeah, I really enjoy co-op too, and it's really if you don't do co-op or any research experience, and you decide after undergrad you want to go work for a while and actually do a science-based job, good luck competing against the co-op people, right? Seriously, it's very, very hard to compete if all you have, even if you have the best grades in the world, if you have no hands-on experience, if you haven't done co-op, it's really hard to compete against someone that's done 3 or 4 different jobs and has like 10 pages of hands-on skills that you don't have. Right, so it's really worthwhile. I know a lot of you think, but if I do co-op, it's another year, and I'm going to graduate a year older and later, kind of thing. But the head start you get from doing stuff like co-op it's a big fast track to the rest of your life. Right, you line up your next job. My wife's first job was also straight from her co-op as well. And if I didn't do grad school, I probably would have gone back to the BC CRC to work there as well. So you line up jobs and you get to know which ones you like. Okay, enough of us talking. So questions, especially for Susan, because I think Susan has to leave sooner about co-op. Anybody? Yeah.
How is doing co-op different from just taking a semester off to work full-time?
Okay, so how is doing co-op different from just taking a semester off to work full-time was the question.
Okay. Well, with co-op, as I mentioned, we don't just kind of throw you in the deep end. We take you through an orientation. So you learn how to write a resume and how to write a cover letter, how to interview, and we do work very closely with you in that whole process. And then, and before you start job searching, we do a final, review and make sure everything's good. So you're actually applying to positions. Some of them are unattainable unless you're in co-op. For example, BC Cancer Research Centre, I believe they typically will only hire co-op students. Other organizations, they have funds specifically for co-op students. So, you'll have much better chance of getting something in your field if you go through co-op. So that's probably the major way it's different, is really access to those positions. That said, in co-op, sometimes you have a very specific idea of what you want to do. We do support student-developed work terms, which means you would go out and secure an employer and a work term. We've got a process for that, and then we assist you with that, and it can count as a co-op. So that can be done as well. But generally speaking, co-op positions are vetted. You've got support of a co-op coordinator and an advisor. You've got SFU kind of behind you as you go through your first professional experiences in your field. Mostly things go very smoothly, but there is that one, once in, a while time when you need a co-op coordinator to kind of give you advice, maybe, or help you deal with any issues and whatnot. So you have all of our support, which you wouldn't have if you go out on your own. So there is, within co-op, we do ask you to write reports, and at the end of the semester, and sometimes that can be used as a portfolio artifact, like research with one of the government agencies or private companies. You could have a research paper that could be part of your interview portfolio when you graduate as well. So the work that you do itself is it's fairly high level. You're not there to get the coffee. You're there to get in, do the research, do the work. and it's just a great learning experience. So it's I'd say it's very different from going out and trying to find your own work placement. And I think, as Kevin said, the co-op students have that advantage, so it's difficult to compete against that in any case. But mostly, I would say access. Companies hire interns and co-op students that are with the co-op program because they know that these students have gone through a process and do have the workplace skills. Yeah. So I hope that answers your question. I kind of went on for a bit there.
Yeah, she nodded. If I add one more thing to that, like having done quite a bit of interviewing, hiring myself for academic positions as well, it doesn't look good if you go and find a job and you keep leaving it after 4 or 8 months, right? If it's a job that's meant to keep going, whereas co-op is made to end, right? It's supposed to end after 4 months, so it wouldn't look bad on your resume to seem like you couldn't stick around for more than a year for job after job after job. So it is a weird little thing where you go in and they're expected to train you to be effective and useful right away, because the sooner they train you up, the more useful you'll be for the rest of those 4 months or 8 months, but you're expected to leave. And and the person you leave isn't gonna be mad at you for leaving. They'll be like, oh, you did a great job during your 8 months. They're great and they're willing to have good references. Because again, another part of it is in terms of scholarships and getting into professional schools and grad school, the references you get from the people you actually work for or work with for, say, co-op or these research positions, these courses that Amelia's talking about, is a whole different level from what you might get from an instructor in a course, right? Because they actually worked with you, right? I've worked with you very closely, so I'll probably be your go-to reference person for a lot of things, but you need like 3 or 4 references for a lot of scholarships and stuff. So your co-op ones will be way deeper and way more personal than the ones you're getting from your instructors.
They'll cover different aspects.
Yeah, different aspects, yeah. Other questions? Specifically about co-op to start with? Yeah.
How long do the workshops take before we can search for a job?
How long do the workshops take before you can search for a job? So was it a follow-up?
That's a great question. Yeah, okay, that's a great question. The workshops themselves are only about 1.5 to 2 hours each. So resume, cover letter, interview skills is about 5.5, 6 hours. We have them set up in the orientation semester. So if you apply to co-op for this coming term, our deadline would be October 5th. And the workshop, you'd be put onto a Canvas course, and our workshops, the resume workshops start off first, and we do several workshops within a week, and then we move on to cover letters. So you have to make sure that you get into those workshops when they come up. But you have lots of different time alternatives within that week to take the workshop. So after about 3 or 4 weeks, then you are uploading new documents and they are being reviewed. After the interview workshops, for this term, it's right now, then you would be able to be transferred over into a job search course. Now, what's new this term is that we are now giving access for up to a year of jobs, which certainly makes it easier if you want to apply for a position in next summer if they're posted. And usually it's international positions, but every now and then an employer will want to post that early for planning purposes. So once you're job searching, you're just working with a coordinator and working on your plan, and right until you graduate. Your last semester would be a study semester, but in between there, you can determine your own plan around your courses, and in consultation with your coordinator. Yeah. So does that answer the question there? Okay. Yeah. So the workshops are integral to co-op, and you can certainly go back and take them again. And they're very focused on how to make your resume your best marketing document and your cover letter to really express your interest in the company and why you want to apply, how you fit. So we go into quite a lot of detail with that, and there's lots of opportunities for review along the way as well.
Do job opportunities between different department co-ops differ a lot, or if they do, are you able to access biology ones if you're not in biology?
Yeah, Good question. So the student was asking, do the job opportunities between departments vary a lot, and are you able to access the job opportunities from other departments, like biology ones, if you're not in biology? Good question.
Absolutely. And that goes to our philosophy of exploring different opportunities. And of course, some people have minors in different areas. So you have access to right across the board, from the business to the arts to the BAS to computing, everything. And I noticed the most crossover actually between, say, molecular biology and health sciences, etc. But you certainly have access to all of the other ones as well, depending on where your interests lie. Yeah.
Other questions? Yeah.
I was wondering, if you're over 75 credits, are you still eligible for applying to co-op, or are your chances sort of reduced compared to people who are below 75 credits?
Okay. Question was, if you're over 75 credits, do you have a lesser chance of getting into co-op than someone who's below 75 credits? Is that right?
No. We have very basic requirements right across science, environmental and health science co-op. It's a minimum 2.5 GPA. It used to be 2.75, but it has been reduced. And for credits, we look at essentially how many credits do you have left. So I said 80, which is typical if you're going to graduate at 120 credits. But you really need to be able to do at least 3 full semesters after you start co-op. So your first semester would be the orientation. Next might be job search, right? So the orientation would be in the fall, job search in the spring for summer 2025 work term. That one might be, let's say it's 8 months, then it would be summer and fall. And then you'd come back in the spring 2026 for an academic term, and then you'd have another work term in the summer, and then you finish off your academics. So basically it's back and forth at least once. So there are the occasional student that will do a 1-year work term all at once. Typically employers don't hire for a year. But that can happen, and in which case you would complete all the requirements then when you come back and complete your final academic term. You have to complete at the university in a study term. So, yeah. So when I would say 80 credits, I'm thinking, in that kind of scenario, the person's going to be graduating 120, but because there are differences, we will probably have an appointment with you. Our advisor would sit down with you, our co-op advisor, Alex, would sit down with you and determine how many credits you have left. And that would kind of determine your acceptance. I hope that makes sense. You could be at 90 credits and still fully qualify, or 95 credits. It really depends on where you're at. And some students are doing minors and other things, certificates, so it can vary. I guess the short answer is you would need to speak with our co-op advisor.
Is it still true, Susan, that the students should avoid doing co-op in their last semester of their study?
Yeah. They need to come back to the university on an academic term, to complete on an academic term, because this is an academic program. It's experiential learning, but it is an educational program, and we'd like students to finish on their academic term. That said, there are cases where, it's not possible for a variety of reasons, and a student is given permission to, in extenuating circumstances, to complete on a co-op term. That can happen, but it's by exception, it's not the norm. Yeah.
Other questions for Susan?
Yeah.
I have one I've been dying to ask as a dad. Because since you can see, you've been in contact with a lot of employers, right, constantly, right? Do you see any areas that are growing and any areas that are shrinking in terms of what might be future-proof or have jobs when these students are graduating? And when my kids are graduating, like say 15 years from now or whatever.
Yeah. Wow. Overall, I would say, biotechnology, therapeutics, those kinds of things, definitely growing. I think jobs, environmental related, toxicology jobs, those ones are definitely increasing. I think it's going to, it's hard to say over 15 years. Right now, some organizations, like, for example, Stem Cell Technologies, we're still waiting to see what they'll do. At this point, they're reducing their workforce, but it'll then expand once again, I'm sure. But that may or may not affect co-op jobs. So, it's really difficult for me to say at this point what's really. I have noticed personally that yes, biotech and environmental positions, some more production laboratories. I see that they haven't been hiring recently, but that could happen again. My advice, honestly, is to go with what you love to do and explore. And when you graduate, the skills that you have, you will be able to apply to whatever position you do look for after graduation, whatever's available, because the amount of transferable skills that you gain, the transferable skills in the field or the lab or just professional skills, these are applicable to a lot of different contexts, and I'm sure that those skills are definitely those skills are definitely going to be needed in future jobs for sure. Yeah, so I think it's best to focus on those. Yeah.
Yeah. Question?
Yeah, so if you have, when you start co-op, if you do she said there's an orientation semester and the next semester there's job search. During those semesters, are you still allowed to take your regular courses? Okay.
Yeah. So it was a quick question basically asking whether while you're doing the orientation and while you're doing the job search, can you still take other courses? So we nodded to say yes.
Yes. Some students take 3 courses, some take take more. It's a personal decision. I always say job search is your orientation is spread out over the term, so it doesn't seem to intrude too much on your courses. But job search is demanding, and I would say think of it as an extra course. One more course that you're taking, because you are going to be writing very targeted applications for each job. And the expectation is that you do apply to quite a few jobs, especially for your first work term. So I think that, it's good to, you do take courses typically when you're job searching. But just be cognizant that that there is a lot of work in the applications themselves. Yeah.
So when you're taking the job search course and the orientation, does that have a certain amount of credits? Like if you're applying to grad school, it doesn't. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, there's another quick question, just about whether you get credits for the job search or for the workshop stuff. So no course credits for it.
Yeah.
Right. It's useful though. I mean, a lot of people's resumes really suck until they take these workshops. Honestly, we've seen some, and it's like, whoa, it's so bad. Like, no offense, but the workshops actually help. Like, they really do.
Think of it as like you.
Yeah. Well, you do get. Pardon me?
No, I was just gonna say, think of it more like the workshop course are gonna be pretty scattered throughout the semester. So it won't be like every week you're going to have 8 hours where you must attend this workshop. It will be like once every 2 to 3 weeks, you will have to take one evening where you take an hour and a half where you learn about how to write a resume. The semester where you apply for jobs, again, is not on any set deadline, which is why some people take 4 courses, some people drop 1 and take 3. I always took 3 because I found applying for jobs very overwhelming. But that is more like, I would assign it sort of like, I'm going to have class Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Thursday, I'm going to work my part-time job. And Tuesday is like the pseudo day that I've assigned to apply for jobs on. And that just like worked out for my schedule, where I would give myself like 2 hours every Tuesday where I would just apply to some jobs. And that again doesn't have to be every week because jobs don't always renew that often, but like every like couple weeks I would like relook at the board and be like, oh, what new job applications deadlines are popping up? Okay, I'm gonna apply for them now.
Yeah. And do know that as much as like it seems like we're hard selling, but we're not on commission or anything, Elizabeth and I. Like we're talking about it because like to me anyways, it was very much worth the time. Like the amount that you gain in terms of experience, knowledge, and open doors for the future is so like dense and large in amount that it's very much worth the time. Like it's way more worth, like one co-op semester is worth so much more than many kind of course-based semesters put together.
And
right?
lab
so
jobs.
we believe in it because it helped us a lot.
And lab jobs paid really well.
They can, yeah.
Like the lab jobs, so like I know, so I did 3. I did one with the zoo, which paid below minimum wage. I did one with a pest company, which paid minimum wage. And then I worked for the government, and I basically made an adult person salary, which was fantastic to do for 4 months. But like I had friends who did solely lab ones, and the lab ones paid really well. Like at the time, I think minimum wage was like $12, and they were, I think, were making like 22 or something like that. So like you can make pretty good bank for 4 months, especially if you live at home, and then you're just saving money for 4 months essentially, which is really nice.
Yeah, getting a foot in the door for government jobs is great too. Because government, my wife works a government job for Metro Vancouver, right? And it's very low stress and very high pay for what she does, right? So if you want a job where you can kind of go home at 4:30 and not do anything else and be very well paid and have a good pension, government jobs are the way to go.
It was great.
Good work-life balance.
It was great.
Yeah.
We celebrated Donut Day by the whole floor of the government building going and buying donuts that got paid for with taxpayer money. It was fantastic.
Yeah, government jobs are definitely worth going after. I think you can start building up seniority, right?
Yeah, you can. So like if I ever get a job, so I worked for a year and a half at government, including my co-op and the term that I did afterwards. And so if I go back and I start in any government job at all, my pension and my insurance picks up as if I never stopped working there. So I would get full benefits right away immediately. I wouldn't have this like break time where they're like, we don't know if we quite like you yet. You're not quite gonna start building this up. Like I would start getting my benefits right away if I went back and worked for government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The benefits are great, and there is a government program, a bridging program, and they've extended, I believe, that how long you can take before you graduate and go back into government. So that's something as well. That's a huge benefit for any of the government departments or ministries like Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, Environment Canada, like you were at, etc. So definitely some great opportunities there, so they can support you through. Yeah.
I think, Susie, I guess we're running low on time with you. Do you have time for any last questions?
It's fine for now.
Okay.
Yeah, I can answer some more if anybody.
Any last questions
would like
for
to
Susan
ask.
about co-op? Yeah, Diego?
How much prior work experience should you have in order to be competitive?
Great question. Yeah, Diego's saying, asking how much prior experience should you have in order to be competitive for co-op jobs?
For co-op jobs, I would say most students are starting co-op without having done a professional position. So if you're coming in with, some, I call them survival jobs. If you're coming in with, retail or restaurant or something like that, that does give the initial experience that employers are looking for. Do you show up on time? Are your organizational skills, communication skills, those kinds of things, and it gives you references. That said, often students who volunteer potentially within one of the laboratories on campus or gaining experience in a research class, honors, etc. That can certainly help. I won't lie, that can definitely help. But the expectation is that most students don't have the professional experience in their field. The employers know that, and they're there to train. So most employers will have a really good onboarding, a co-op onboard program. Where you'll go through this complete training or safety training if it's needed, biohazard training. They'll give that to you, and again, all of that training goes on the on your resume as well. So no, I would say just get started and start applying. And when you're applying, you're also using the skills that you've learned in your courses, and then the soft skills in your other areas of your life. So I don't, obviously more experience does help if you volunteer, but absolutely don't let that stop you. The employer's training. They know this and they're looking for good attitude, somebody that wants to learn, honestly. Yeah.
Other questions? Cool. Oh, sorry, somebody? Yeah.
How useful would this course be in terms of like how much of a, I guess, benefit it is?
Obviously, it's irreplaceable.
Students asking how useful is this course as far as background for like co-op applications. I'd say it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Kind of the point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of putting all this work in to make the course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, on your resume, we show you that you don't have to do the typical, what we learned, I learned in high school. Work experience and then volunteered and educate. You don't need to just do that. You can have like a research experience and put your research projects that you've done in your courses, academic work. So you can have that at the undergrad level, absolutely. They'll have that, and that will show the employer that you do have some of those skills, which will be really important. So absolutely, coursework is important.
Thank you. Any questions for Amelia as well in terms of like the course-based kind of research courses, honors thesis, all that kind of stuff? We mentioned earlier about the USRA that's come out a few times. That's the Undergraduate Student Research Award that's awarded by NSERC, which is a huge funding organization that pays for the salaries for most grad students, I'd say, in biology. No?
Not me.
Not anymore?
No, it does. I don't. But
Yeah.
yes.
But it's a major Canadian level funding organization for a lot of research in grad school, and they have an undergraduate award that basically pays your full salary to do full-time research for a semester on campus, which counts as a co-op semester as well. You can do both. The good thing about the USRAs is that, so like in biology, for example, we get a lot of them because we have so many students, but very few people apply for them. Right, so they're not hard to get. There were semesters where like we have an extra one, anybody want it, and it'd be like, hey, so and so apply, and they got it, right? Just because we had more of them. So they're prestigious because it's a Canada level competitive award, right, for a research award, and you get to do full time research with a profit grad student after you get it. But it's not super hard to get, and the rumor is that if you get the undergrad level award, it's easier to get the grad level awards as well. And the grad level awards are worth a lot, right? You live better.
They
if
just
you have
bumped them
one.
up too.
Did they?
Yeah.
Yeah. How much is it now?
8,000.
PhD is they bumped it up 8,000 more. So I think PhD is like 40
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
and PhD is 27.
Master.
40 per year?
No, 40. Yeah.
Yeah, something
Wow.
they've just basically
They increased it a lot
living
this
wage,
year.
right?
Yeah.
I had the CGS and that was only 35.
Yeah.
So yeah, no,
But like the NSERC, it's $8,000 the one semester.
yeah.
That's
So
pretty-
for the one semester undergrad one, there's $8,000 as your salary to do research for that whole semester, right? To help pay the bills, sort of thing.
Yeah. The minimum GPA is B minus 2.67 to be able to meet the eligibility requirement.
Yeah, and grad level award is, it makes a big difference, right? It basically makes you, like for example, if you wanted to work at a lab that doesn't have the funding to support you, but you can get an NSERC to support yourself, then they can let you in even if they don't have the funding, right? Because I wanted to work at UBC with this lab that was working on kind of how to make farm animals more comfortable as far as making their stalls and whatever else like less hard on their legs, that kind of thing. But they didn't have the money because I guess people don't care enough about that to put money into it, right? So had I been able to get an NSERC to support myself, then I could maybe still apply to get in that lab, but I couldn't because I didn't do enough co-op and that kind of thing yet, right? Yeah. Questions? Yeah.
If you were to do like an honors thesis in order to apply to the bachelor's degree and the master's degree and eventually do a PhD, would you have to do the PhD in the same university or do you do it?
Oh, good question. So the question was if you wanted to use the honors thesis as a stepping stone towards going straight to PhD or rolling over from master to PhD, do you have to do it in the same institution? I'd say probably not, right? I think each institution has its own rules in terms of the qualifications for going straight to PhD or going from master's to PhD. But no, you wouldn't have to stay at the same university.
Masters for PhD though, to roll up, I think you have to be at the same university.
Masters. Oh yeah. So if you
roll
started,
up, if you start a master's and you want to roll up to be a PhD, it has to be with the same professor.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So if you started a master's, you wanted to change that master's project into a PhD such that all the work you've done so far counts towards the PhD. All those 2 or 3 years you spent, as I did, becomes part of your PhD project. Then you're continuing the same work in the same lab in the same university. But having done an honors thesis in SFU, if you wanted to then go to UBC or U of T or something like that to go do a master's or PhD, right? The fact that you've done an honors thesis counts over there, right? They'll be able to say, oh, that means that you've run a project, that you've defended and been in charge of it fully, right? That is a big leg up. That's something they recognize when you go to other universities. Yeah, but you're right, the rollover would have to happen in the same university. Other questions?
Sorry, I have just one more question. What's the minimum GPA requirement for an answer USRA?
What's the minimum GPA requirement for answer USRA?
2.67. Yeah, which is a B minus. Just to let you know, 298, 498, 499, 497W, we do not have prerequisite GPA requirements. So students who are very strong in research but not necessarily strong in their GPA are still welcome to apply. The ISS though, we need to have 3.0.
Yeah. Now for both of those, like whether you're doing the 3-credit course-based research experience or the honors thesis especially, you need to find a prof who will work with you. It's the thing, right? So you have to find someone with the word professor in their title, who therefore has a research lab and grad students to take you on and give you a project to work on or talk about a project you want to work on. That can be a little bit harder if you haven't been talking to your profs in your courses and getting to know people and networking along the way. I hate networking too, it's really hard to do, but it matters, right?
Yeah.
So that's something you have to do some legwork on in advance and talk to the profs that you enjoy working with and seem like nice people, are doing stuff that you think is cool, and ask them, can I do a 498, right?
Yeah.
Can I get my feet wet and learn what you do in your lab and actually do a project, right? If you like working with them, maybe do an honors thesis with them. Right, that's what I did a 498 with Gerhard, really liked working with them, changed to a completely different project from my honors thesis, right? And that went pretty well, and that's why I continued on for master's and PhD in the same lab, right? But you need to start talking to your profs,
Yeah.
right? Because that's the first step for getting one of these positions. That's why in some cases, if you're a shy person, co-op is an easier way to get a job than it is to get a volunteer position, because you don't have to talk to someone, you just go and start applying, right? You do the work to get yourself application package ready, and you're just in the system that lets you apply for many, many different jobs that are set up for you. You don't have to go cold call profs and grad students to see if they'll take you on.
So biology has a portal where you can search for different opportunities for 98 to 98. Just search for under research opportunities. And don't limit yourself to that list. Often professors don't list the opportunities, so it's best to actually approach them after class. Is do you have any opportunities? Another source of information are your TAs. So, like Elizabeth, to just go up to your TA and say, hey, you know, what do you do in the lab? You know, if the project that they're doing interests you, just ask them, do you need somebody to help you in your research? So don't be afraid of reaching out to your TA and your professor to see if there are any opportunities available in their labs.
Yeah, especially as you get into upper division courses, most of your TAs will be graduate students who are doing research. And you can talk to the ones who are not the TA in your tutorial as well. You can talk to the other TAs in that course as well if you want.
But feel free to email me if you have any questions about how to approach professors and how to find these opportunities that we have listed on our website.
Yeah.
Amelia's great.
Yeah, Amelia, you know the high school counselor that everyone goes to even if there's not their last name letter? That's Amelia. She's the one you go to if you have trouble with courses and you're not sure like how to get into this course. If you're planning your course and you're not sure what's offered middle of next year, like you have a listing for the next 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Of who's teaching what for all of biology. Right, so she's my go-to person since 1999. Sorry to get you there.
Often Magnus and I work together, you know, so that you can complete your degree and finish your co-op. So we try to juggle the courses, make way for what can we use instead of this course, because this course is not offered in such a way that you could complete both co-op and your degree in a timely manner.
Amelia planned out the last 2 years of my undergrad for me in like one 30-minute sitting. It was great. She was like, you're gonna take this course, this course, this course. I'm gonna write them all down, and all you have to do is be a monkey and type them into the computer. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, because Amelia knows like which courses are offered every 2 years and which semester and what time it tends to be offered, so it doesn't conflict with this other course, right? Changes that are coming down the line because so and so is going to be on study leave, right? We plan 2 years in advance in biology, right? So Amelia has Amelia has access to all that information, to know what's coming up. Right. So especially as you get closer to graduating, or even before then, if you want to plan things out so you're not wasting semesters, so you make sure you have the courses you need, the courses you want are available when you want them. Amelia's a good person to talk to. Any other questions? Yeah, thank you for all the questions, and thank you, Susan and Amelia, for making time.
Right. Thank you. I learned a lot from both of you, actually. So great.
Yeah, it's great talking to you. Thank you so much for making time and for stepping into help with Agnes. So thank you.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break, everybody. Let's come back in 10 minutes. We'll work on our posters together. Okay, let's take a pee break.
All right. Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Amelia. Thanks so much. Couple quick things before getting into poster stuff. Kind of reminders here somewhere. Okay. So this week you will, so by tonight's, you need to submit your files for me to print. Please double check it. Change it to a PDF and carefully look at each PDF. Make sure that as you convert to PDF, you didn't lose the edge of something, or the font looks okay and everything's arranged the way you want it to be arranged. So send it to me. You can send multiple files. You can have one file that you kind of printed and changed to, converted to PDF from the Excel file for your title. Yeah.
Oh, that was the question. Is for their title on the Excel sheet, does that also need to be converted to PDF?
Yeah, so same thing. So the way I usually convert to PDF is I go into the Excel file, for example, and I hit print, but instead of actually printing to the printer, there's a little PDF kind of drop down menu on the left. You click on it and save as PDF, and it'll take what would have printed and changes it to a PDF instead. And you'll find that when you do that for the Excel file, it'll turn it into 4 landscape size pages, which kind of nicely stretches across the middle of your poster. So that's one PDF that you'll give me, is your title banner. That's 4 pages wide. And then you also have another file that is all landscape set up with your documents with all the methods and figures and that kind of thing. So what you'll want to do is whatever tools you have for cutting paper in straight lines, bring it. Right, if you have crafting supplies for cutting or sliding, those different crafting stuff that my wife has, bring them for cutting the paper. We have glue sticks, we have Scotch tape. If you have other types of glue or stuff that you like to use to stick things together, bring that if you like, but there is enough supplies in the lab. But paper cutter-wise, we only have one of those kind of choppy kind of paper cutters. It's not bad. It's old, but it's sharp because the lab techs actually sharpen it regularly. But there's only one for us to share among 6 groups. The idea being that when you arrive in lab, you're going to set up a rough layout of what you want. So do make sure that what you might want to do is bring a pencil and kind of mark off where you're going to trim each page, so that you can kind of plan it before you cut it. And then once you cut it, lay it out, and do not glue anything down until you run it by, I'd say, both Elizabeth and myself to get feedback. Right? Because once you glue it down, that's it. Yeah.
Sorry, are we responsible for buying our own posters?
No, we already bought like 2, for each group there's 2 big black poster sheets that you can duct tape together to make one very big poster, right? And once you send the files to me tonight, I will print everything in full color. So by gluing those onto the big poster board, that will be your poster, right? I had one group ask whether you can go and professionally print your whole big poster as one big page. I say no, because that costs $150 to $200, right? And it's not worth that money for you to print a poster from a course like this. The posters we're going to make are going to look pretty good, and they're going to be consistent across the whole class. Okay?
If you want to augment with some sort of construction papers backing situation, then you could bring that yourself if you want. but like the posters are normally the more expensive part, so we kind of did bring those for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to bring some colored paper or something else to add some trim or add some kind of pretty elements to your poster, feel free to do so, right? But yeah, but the basic materials you need are I'm going to provide. Other things. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So basically tomorrow I want you to trim and roughly lay it out, but do not glue anything yet tomorrow, right? Once you've laid it out roughly, then you should be showing it and running it, doing another practice presentation with Elizabeth or myself, and we'll do some Q&A as well. So I'll be kind of going from group to group. As soon as I see it posted, looks roughly put together, I'm gonna just sit down and get you to present it to me another time for like 2 minutes, and then I'll do a bunch of Q&A just to give you some practice, and then you can then just swap members from other groups and keep doing Q&A. You want to have run through hundreds of questions before next Monday, right? So start doing that as soon as you have a rough layout. While you're talking to other groups, when you're done presenting to them and doing some Q&A, let them read the poster and see if there's anything they catch that can be more clear. Anything that's unclear at all, point it out to others. Or let's help each other make our posters as good as we can. Okay? So what we're doing for the rest of today is basically whatever questions you have, whatever pressing questions you have before you send the files in for printing, ask us now. Okay, so Elizabeth and I will just kind of cycle through and just try to get through all the teams in whatever order. But if you have any pressing questions, come find us. Okay, sound good? Yeah, question?
After we glue everything on, what was it again?
Thursday?
Thursday, are we not changing anything after that?
Yeah, once you glue it down on Thursday, that's it. We're done. If you have a typo, that typo will be there. And hopefully nobody will notice it on Monday, right? But if you need something reprinted, so on Tuesday, like we do want to have, I'm going to print one copy of whatever you send me, so carefully trim and have it laid out exactly the way you want it. But you may want to reprint a particular figure bigger or change the font size or something like that, in which case you can send it to me by Wednesday night for a few extra pages. So you can email it to me Wednesday night. All right, but for now, let's just try to get it done on Tuesday just with what we printed. Okay.
And
Yeah.
then, so when we like glue everything down, are we leaving the poster just in like the class, or are we doing?
Yeah, so you'll leave the posters in the classroom. I think probably sometime tomorrow during lab, I'll take you down to the biochem lounge to show you where we're actually presenting and where we're arranging it. Elizabeth and I went to check it out to figure out where we're gonna lay out the posters. We kind of go from like A near the entrances towards F near the middle, just because groups Fs are always stuck at the back of the room, so we're going to put you in the middle of the room this time, right, near the food, right, whereas the ABCs are going to be near the entrances, where some people walking in who are not rushing into the food will be able to talk to you first as well. So it should be fairly evenly spread out along the windows and along near the entrances, okay? So we'll show you where that is sometime during lab tomorrow, I think, just so you have a feeling for where you're going to be. And you can bring extra stuff to show if you want. Okay, so go ahead and work on your posters, but if you have pressing questions, raise your hands, we'll come talk to you first. Otherwise, we'll try to cycle and just check in with each group to see if you have questions about what you're doing. Okay, but do make sure you send me your files by tomorrow morning at the very latest. Okay, so I'm gonna print stuff like at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, anytime before that. All right, thank you.